November 611 Victor Golf was not a loss of pressurization. I'm going to make that very clear. This is a video. I don't normally get involved with this kind of videos, but I'm going to step through this and tell you exactly what happened and what I think happened. I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm also going to eliminate some other possibilities of things that could not be possible. The jet was owned by a guy named John Rumpel. He was 75 years old. John and Barb lived in Florida. This was their business jet. Here's a picture of it. John, age 75, and he was not on the business jet. He bought this airplane in April of 2023. This is a Citation jet. This is what we call a near jet. It's not a Learjet. It's a near jet. It's almost a jet, but you can fly it single pilot. It's so easy. Anybody can fly it. John could have put a 21-year-old private pilot that didn't even have a multi-engine rating. He could have had somebody in the right seat, but he did not. So who was in the right seat on this flight? Absolutely nobody. There was 3 people on this airplane. Jeff Hefner was the pilot. Jeff, age 69. And Jeff's credentials were very good. And I want to stop and say our deepest respects and condolences to both families, every family and friend of this is a tragic accident. I hope to prevent a future recurrence of this type of accident. This is definitely a pilot incapacitation in flight, but it has nothing to do with pressurization. Let's take a look at who else was on board. I'm going to give you the names here. John and Barb's daughter, Adina Azarian, she was 49 years old. Her daughter, Aria Azarian, she was 2.5 years old. She was on board. And then they also had their nanny. The nanny's name was Evedne Smith. They called her Nanny V. She was on board. So all 3 of these were in the back of the airplane for the ride. There was nobody in the co-pilot seat. This airplane took off. It did not straight climb to 340. This airplane stopped and leveled off at 230 and got a clearance to 340. But look at the data here. Everybody's missed this data. This airplane stopped. I listened to the tape. It's a very clear readback. It leveled off at 230. It got a new frequency and a new altitude. That means he set the new altitude. He armed it. He pushed the vertical speed and started a climb. And this airplane captured its altitude. He was alive and well at 230. There was no problems at 230. This airplane started its climb. Now its route, it's been reported that this airplane shot the ILS at 340. Not true. This airplane flew the route. I'm going to give you the route here. This airplane went right up the Victor Airway. This FMS navigation system would have loaded all the waypoints for the IFR clearance. And here's the clearance on the screen here. Right here is what it is. The last couple of waypoints would have been Victor 139, or you might know it as Tango 320, to Sardi intersection, Sardi to Calverton. Calverton's a VOR, CCC, Calverton, Calverton to the airport. The airplane turned, but notice it cut the corner on this because it could not make a 90-degree turn. That's what these autopilots and systems do. They just round this out and head to the corner. What does it do? What does this airplane do when it gets to the last known waypoint, known as the IFR clearance limit? It stops because it doesn't know what to do next. The autopilot drops into what we call heading hold. It flies last known existing heading. That's the heading. It flew all the way at this altitude until the right engine ran out of fuel. 2 big fuel tanks on the Citation, one in the left wing, one in the right wing. They're not cross-fed in any way. The right engine ran out of fuel first, just by pure dumb luck. We don't really know which one's going to run out first, but the right engine lost fuel and lost pressure, and because it was out of fuel, it just started its descent. The airplane could not maintain altitude, and then once this airplane started its descent, the autopilot fell off, no longer in altitude hold. It started its right-hand descending spiral into impact. There was not a loss of pressurization. This airplane, the 3 people in the back of this airplane would have been alive and well right up until impact, and they would probably not have known that there was even anything wrong. They know that the airplane, by looking out the window, probably did a 180, but they didn't question what's going on. They sat in back with their seatbelts on, playing quietly and doing whatever they wanted to do. They probably would have not known that there was anything wrong until it started this big, steep, excessive right wing down maneuver and flew right into the dirt. The very last seconds on board this airplane would have been horrific. They would have been alive. This is not loss of pressurization. I'm going to also go over here the F-16 scramble. There's been a lot of conspiracy stuff here. This was not a conspiracy. John Rumpel was a big donor to some political deal. The USA did not launch airplanes to try to shoot him down. It has nothing to do with who he did or did not give money to. It has nothing to do with politics. This is what happened. All this conspiracy stuff that you hear out here is simply not true. Has nothing to do with who John did or did not support in any way. The F-16s did break the speed of sound. An F-16 can go more than 1,000 miles an hour. The Learjet can go at the most about 500 miles per hour with a really good tailwind. The F-16s caught it. And guess what? When the F-16s caught up, the F-16s could look inside the window and see the pilot slumped over to the right. He's definitely incapacitated, but the fact that you can see in the windows tells me that this is not incapacitation. Remember the Payne Stewart accident? I'm going to go back and pull the report here for you, but it's going to show opaque windows. Opaque means it's totally frozen over. It's about minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit on the inside of this airplane, and everything is frozen solid. The windows ice over from the inside, from the existing moisture inside the cabin. Everything freezes over. You can't see inside the airplane. This airplane, they could easily see inside. They could see the guy. He was slumped over and unresponsive. They shot the flares to try to wake him up. Well, guess what? You're not going to wake him up. The people in the back of the airplane might have seen the flares, but the pilot up front was incapacitated. He never saw the flares. The sonic boom, I'll let you listen to it here. It's not that big of a deal. Let's listen to the actual sonic boom heard that day. So there it is. Sounds kind of like thunder. Not a big deal. That's the speed of an F-16 or a couple of them chasing this airplane. They break the sound barrier. They go right through the speed of sound and right up to Mach whatever. I think the F-16 can almost do Mach 2. But in any case, they caught up and they took a look. And that's really all that happened to this airplane. The thing I want to make clear here is that this is not pressurization. This is a medical incapacitation. I'm not going to go so far as to say the word that I can't say on YouTube, but is it related? I don't know. I'm not going to say yes or no whether it was, but this is a retired airline pilot, age 69, who did comply with all of the things he was required and asked to be compliant of our U.S. government. He was in full compliance, and rightfully so, and the facts are the facts. I'm just going to tell you. Mr. Jeff was in full compliance with our government requests of its citizens, and there you have it. So this airplane went into the ground. I'm very sorry for this loss, this horrific loss. My takeaway for this for you guys, single pilot people out there, these people flying these business jets around, you probably ought to pay some kid $500 to sit in the right seat so that he could at least land the jet. Any 21-year-old with a private license, I can show you how to land a citation in less than 15 minutes. Anybody can do it. It's easier than a 172. If your captain, if your 20,000-hour captain keels over and he's dead, let the 21-year-old airplane go to a 5,000-foot runway anywhere in America and he can land the airplane, no problem. Their problem that day was they had nobody in the right seat, and the people in the back of the airplane did not even know that there was anything wrong until the very, very end, and I'm very sorry for the horrific way that this entire thing ended up. I got to get out of here. I'm going to publish this and get it up on the air, but there is no conspiracy here. There is no government trying to shoot our airplanes down. There is none of that. It's simply a pilot incapacitation for reasons unknown. I'm not going to get into why he became incapacitated, but it is what it is for my tiny little itty-bitty fledgling YouTube channel, Dan Grider. Problem cause.